What's up guys, Jivan back with another video. Is there anyone in your life that just does not understand gaming at all and just does not support it? Maybe you've tried to explain to them why you grind games and they just can't comprehend it. Well, in this video, I'm basically going to explain to you how you can convince anybody to support gaming. They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, no, you should go play games 24/7 all day, every day, but I guarantee they'll understand it a bit more after you explain the stuff in this video. So first off, for some people, gaming is just a way to kill time, just like watching a show on Netflix or binging a little YouTube, whatever it may be. So many people just play games to kill time, and that's cool. But some people take it a bit more seriously and want to get really good at games. It can be compared to sports so easily. Let's say hypothetically, you're playing on a basketball team. You're out every single day in your front yard or at the hoops nearby, just shooting hoops, trying to get better, working on your three-point shot. And you practice a bunch because you want to get better, maybe to make the school team, or maybe you're trying to get like a D1 scholarship. If you tell anybody about your sports grind, they're gonna understand. They're gonna be like, okay, that's dope. Like, good for you. Glad you have that hobby. I think you can see where this is going. Gaming is literally the same exact thing. Playing sports is a hobby, people practice it and try to get better at their hobby, and maybe one day if they get good enough, they'll become a professional athlete. And that has a lot of money in it. Gaming is the same exact thing. It can be a hobby. You want to get as good as possible. There's tons of money tournaments out there, and if you get good enough, maybe you can start making money from gaming. The chances of you going pro in sports and actually making money from it is really slim. I would almost say there's a greater chance that you could make at least a little bit of money in gaming than you could in sports for the average person. But a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't realize how much money there actually is in the gaming industry. So that's one way you can explain it to them. You can try to explain it to them how it's similar to a sport. You want to get better so that you can maybe make money in it one day, but at the end of the day, it's just a hobby that you want to improve at. You can even compare it to music, like someone who wants to get really good at music, maybe write their own music. You can compare it to that. Maybe you want to make gaming videos one day, but you need to get good at gaming first in order to make videos about gaming. It's the same thing as music. You need to get good at music first in order to write your own songs. Otherwise, those songs are gonna be dookie. You literally cannot get good at any hobby in the world without a lot of practice. So if somebody doesn't support the fact that you want to play maybe like 2-3 hours a day, just show them this video, tell them this argument that I've just laid out for you. Gaming is just another hobby, and in order to get good at it, you gotta do it a lot. I'm a content creator. I personally love making videos, and that's my full-time job, but my side hustle is I'm trying to get good enough at competitive gaming to make money in tournaments. Now you may think like, oh, he probably practices like 5 to 10 hours a day. Not true at all. I play like 3 to 5 hours a day, maybe 5 days a week. So that rounds out to maybe 3 hours a day. It doesn't take all the time in the world to become a pro gamer. The more time you put in, the better chances you get, but it's so important to balance it with the other things in your life, because at the end of the day, it is just a hobby. And so if you're telling your parents about the stuff I'm talking about in this video, you gotta make sure that you tell them that you understand that it's not the #1 priority in your life, but it is a hobby that you wanna work on, okay? Does that make sense? Like, you can't lay this argument out to them and say that you want to apply all of your time towards gaming. That's just not gonna fly. And now if you want to make this argument even more valid, just show your parents the trends of the gaming industry. Show them how the numbers of Twitch revenue, YouTube gaming revenue is increasing like crazy. Show them prize pools in games versus the number of players that actually played it. If you have parents that care about the statistics and the actual money that is in the industry, you could show them stuff like that. And now at the end of the day, to make the biggest impact on your parents is you need to explain it to them in a way that they can understand the best. So if you have sports parents, you could use that sports metaphor that I talked about earlier. But if your parents are into theater, you could tie it to that. When I was explaining to my parents that I wanted to become a full-time content creator and gamer, I made a whole entire PowerPoint. I'm crazy like that. I made a whole PowerPoint laying out my plan of how I could grow my content, comparing it constantly to theater because that's what they do. They are into theater and stuff. And so I kind of explained it as like auditions. You go on auditions, sometimes you're gonna flop. I make videos, sometimes they're gonna flop. but maybe one day I'll get the perfect audition, and that audition will get me a job, and that job will lead to other jobs. And with content creation, I was like, oh, like if one video hits, that could lead to other videos hitting, and I'll start to learn the system more, and I'll get better at it, and that could eventually lead to a job. And I wanted to take 6 months off school to just try to do that. I laid out a plan with my content, the different ideas I was going to try, why I thought they would work, and that's when I got support from them. And I think a big factor of it was because I explained it in a way they could understand with theater. And now this whole talk that I'm giving you right here is just like a good example of how you can pitch something to people. When you're pitching an idea to someone, whether it's in business, whether it's in school, whether it's like for a club, like I don't even know, it could be anything. You really just have to think of the best way you can say your idea to the audience that you're pitching to. So I was pitching to my parents, so I compared it to theater. And then the other important thing about pitching is you have to think of all the counter arguments that they could give. So I thought of every single possible concern and counter that they may have to my idea that I threw out to them. For example, one counter that I thought of, and they actually did end up asking it, was what if it doesn't work out? What if I take 6 months off school, I waste all this time trying to make it as a content creator, and it doesn't work? What then? Like, why would I waste that time? And my counter was, it's just like auditioning in theater. You know, you spend all this time practicing for auditions, going to the auditions, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But the difference in my situation is by going through this 6 months of trying to make it as a content creator, I will, one, be learning to edit better, learning to graphic design better for my thumbnails, learning to social media manage, and learning just different platforms. And all of those skills are really useful in the real world. So was the 6 months a waste? Nah, I learned a bunch in those 6 months, potentially even more than I could have learned in school. That was my counter argument. And you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are watching this video and like you really wish you had a good PC and you really wish you could get off that console and get on a real like competitive computer. Well, guess what? I used the same exact style of argument to convince my parents to let me get a PC. The thing is, it was my own money, so like I probably could have just gone and bought it and it would have been fine. They would have been mad, but I wanted to get their permission first just because I was living under their roof. So this is what I said. I already had a PC. It was really, really slow while editing and it only got like 60 FPS while gaming. And so I took time. I thought about, you know, how I wanted to talk to my parents about it. I tried to think of questions they might have, like counters to my argument that they might bring up. And this is how it went. I basically just went up to them and I was like, okay, mom, dad, I have something that I want to talk to you about. And before you say no, hear out my whole entire argument, okay? That's how I like to start it out so that they don't just immediately get shut off to the idea. So then I told them I wanted to buy a much better PC, like a powerhouse PC. I told them that I'm spending all of this time doing YouTube, content creation, gaming, but I'm not doing it on a very good setup. And it's almost like all this time is low-key going to waste because I can't produce high enough level videos that are going to engage the audience. And so if I got a better PC, 1, I'd be able to make better YouTube videos. 2, I'd be able to get better at gaming to also help improve the YouTube videos. 3, I'd use that PC to get better at editing, better at graphic design, and I would build really, really useful real-world skills with this PC. And 4, I'd be able to use the PC if I ever went back to school for game design, video editing, whatever. And now if you've ever asked your parents for a PC, you've probably just been like, oh, I really want this PC. I can play all these games on it. The most important thing that convinced my parents to let me get this PC was not the whole gaming thing, and I want to get good at gaming. It was that I could build real world skills like video editing, graphic design, and use it for school and eventually work potentially. And sure enough, they said yes, they were all for it, and they even like told me I could spend more money than I was even planning to spend on a PC. That's how good of an idea I convinced them that it was. And it was a good idea, obviously. So basically, the moral of the story is, before having a serious conversation with somebody that could potentially change your future, really think about how you're going to portray your words and talk to them about it. Think about the counter arguments they might bring up and how you can counter their counters. At the end of the day, the other person you're talking to is a person. They're going to have their own opinions, and sometimes they might be right. So keep an open mind when going into the conversation. Don't go into the conversation thinking, I'm right, you're wrong. Conversations are between two people, not just you. But yeah, no, this video was kind of all over the place. I hope it helps you guys out. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you learned some new social skills. I don't know. But I haven't done a podcast type video like this in a while, so I figured, screw it, let's send it. If you like this style video, be sure to hit that like button, sub if you're new, and drop video ideas in the comments, and maybe I'll just pick your idea and make a video. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.